Hello everyone, this is the Super Week Maker, and today I'm making a video to explain something that some people have grabbed the attention and they just asked me. The video was triggered from Tara Star again because she said, "Can you make a video about hair direction towards the front? I never know when to start changing the direction to follow a natural head of hair." Now, this conversation, though, about the hair direction and changing the direction and how to change the direction smoothly was discussed between me and Hersey 514. We had a huge conversation. This is just a small, uh, one of the small messages. It's a huge message, but it's one of the small messages about how to change the direction from one point to another a little smoother. Changing the direction is something that we want to do for the top part, the sides, the center of the crown, where some people have a cowlick or whatever you want to do. You have to know how to change it and when to change it and how to make it smoother. So the first thing first, we need to understand the options that we have with the lace. The problem with the lace is that we don't have infinite options because we can only ventilate into three major directions that can be translated into six depending on how we brush the hair. And I'm going to explain to you in a moment what I mean three and then six. We can ventilate in the top face of each hexagon and the lower face of each hexagon going upwards. But if you have seen the video about what is hair direction and how do I ventilate, I'm going to put it in the description. You can see that when you ventilate hair into a specific direction, into a specific face, you actually create a hinge in that spot so the hair can be, kind of brushed in the opposite side and still lay as flat as possible. So it's up, down direction, one, side right up or left down. This is the second group. And this is the third group, left up, right down. Which of course means that since we have up and down, we actually have six directions. These are all the options that we have when we want to ventilate in a lace that is hexagon, that has hexagon pattern, because there are other laces that have squares or triangles, but the hexagon is the most popular because it's more sturdy, it doesn't stretch. It's the bobbinet. It's what everyone uses for wig making. It's the best lace that you can use. So when I made the discussion with Hersey, I uh, I actually explained to him how I see uh, the lace first, and this is something we really need to discuss first because a lot of people are getting lost into where do you ventilate, how do you ventilate, and how does the density change or not change according to the way you ventilate. So let's say that we have this little hexagon pattern here, and I'm just gonna number the each each hole, each hexagon. So we have 1 to 12 right here. Now, let's say that I want to ventilate in each hole, because whenever I talk about ventilation, I actually talk about knots per hole, because this is easier because a hole, a hexagon is an entity on itself. You can see it, it's there. But you cannot ventilate on the hole. I mean, the hair has to be attached to something, and the hexagon is literally a hole, so you cannot ventilate on top of it. You have to ventilate in one of the sides of the hexagon. Okay, now which side? It depends on the direction that you want, but this is not really what I want to address here. First, we're going to discuss about uh, what side, what lining, what where you can ventilate the hair belongs to which hexagon. So remember the numbers. We have 2 and 8. 2 seems to have now 2 knots, but if we see the first image, we see that it's only one, it's going up. So what's going on? Why does the 2 seem to have 2, and why does the 8 seem to have 2 as well? It's just that 2 and 8 have one common. So where does this knot belong to? To make things clearer and easier in my mind, I'm going to separate the hexagons and create them literally floating in the air, which is impossible in the lace, of course, but it's going to help us understand what belongs where, and we have to come into a phase that we accept that this belongs here, that belongs there. We're actually making this assumption. It doesn't have to belong anywhere. So I still have the same numbers here, as you can clearly see, and I still want to ventilate one knot in every hexagon. But as I said, the hexagon is still a hole, so I need to attach it to one of the faces, one of the sides of the hexagon, and just to do it on the top. So this is much more clear now. 2 and 8. 2 has only one in the upper part, 8 has only one in the upper part, and the lower one that was at 8 now belongs to a hexagon below that. So it's clear enough now to say that uh, one we can ventilate in any side of the hexagon you can see in this image, and we can ventilate up or down. We can ventilate side, right, left, low, left, up, right, low, and they all belong to 8. But the thing is that the sides of the hexagon, they uh, group with other hexagons. So one side belongs to 2 hexagons. So we have to decide each side which hexagon belongs to. Now, if you saw clearly in this little images, let me just show you again. If I ventilate up here or down here, I have the same direction. If I ventilate in this right up size or the left low, it's still the same direction. If I ventilate in the left up or right low, it's still the same direction. So I don't need to ventilate in all 6 of them. I can ventilate in half of them. So the top part and the low part, they have the same direction. So I don't need the low part. I'm going to raise it. The right up part and the left down part have the same direction. So I'm just going to delete the lower part. And the same thing happens to the left side, left up with the right low. I'm going to delete that. So I have these 3 sides at 8 that are going to give me all the possible uh, ventilation directions for that hexagon, because I can ventilate up or down, and with the hinge effect I have all 6 options here. So let me just number all the hexagons again, and I'm going to do the same thing to all hexagons. I don't need the low parts. So each hexagon now has only the top cap, the top 3 parts that create all possible ventilation directions. So I'm going to paint these little caps a different color so as to make things a little bit more visible, and I am going to connect them again. See, I just connected them. So the cap of 1, which is blue, the cap of 4, which is the green, with the cap of 7, which is purple, with the cap of 8, which is blue, and the cap of 10, which is orange. They create a hexagon because, I only have the top part, but when they are connected, they create the hexagons. So I'm making the assumption that each hexagon, when I want to ventilate, for example, at 4, I am going to ventilate in one of the 3 green sides. If I ventilate in the purple, the blue, or the orange, then the knot doesn't belong to 4. It belongs to 7, 10, or 8 accordingly. So this is a very easy way in this image, for example, that I showed you earlier, that here, for example, 2 has only one knot. It has the knot which is above the number. 8 has only one knot as well, which is above the number as well. So this way, I know that when I want to ventilate one knot per hole, I know where to ventilate it. Okay, so we're proceeding to the actual part of the video where I'm going to explain to you how to change the direction, how would I change the direction And this is just a small example of what I would do if I wanted a line where I change the direction from one direction to another. So we have this hexagon pattern here. It's a little bigger than the previous one, smaller holes and more hexagons because I really want to show you uh, the transition. So I need more hexagons to work with. And I'm going to ventilate the top half of it with this direction going upwards. I'm going to make this gray so you will be able to see a little better the visual aspect of the hexagon themselves. And I'm going to put blue, the other ones that are going to have a diagonal ventilation. Now I'm going to remove the color so you can see how it looks. And you can see that there is a strict line where the hair changes direction. We don't want that. The reason is that, as we said, in human head, there is no strict line where everything just goes to a different direction. Maybe the cowlick, but who wants a cowlick in his wig? Uh, and since we don't have many options in the hexagon, we only have 6 options. We need to find a way to make it appear a little bit smoother. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a small section of the hexagons that I'm going to make the transition. What I'm going to make in here is that I'm going to have both the directions. This area here is going to have a little bit of shuffling going on in terms of direction. So we will start with, I'm going to just grade out so you can see easier. I'm going to start with hair going upwards. Then I'm going to add half a line with hair going diagonal. Then I'm going to add another row with hair going upwards. Then I'm going to add a full row of um, hair going diagonal. Then half a row of hair going upwards, and then everything below that is going to be diagonal. So what's going to happen, you can see it ventilated, and I'm going to remove the color. So you realize that from this upper line to the lower line, in between these two lines, everything is kind of shuffled. But the thing is that, see, above the line and below the other line, everything above the first line goes upwards, everything below the second line goes diagonal. In between, you have a little bit of shuffling, but this is going to serve into making the transition a little smoother. Now, uh, this is where I marry the first part of the video with the second with the actual issue of the changing of the direction. What this image? I have 1 hexagon, 2 hexagon, and 3 hexagon. People would think that 1 has 3 knots, 2 has 2 knots, and 3 has only 1 knot. But as I explained previously, so when you want to change the direction, let's see the first image where everything is single line ventilated. Where is it? There it is. You see we have 1 knot in the top part. But then we changed the ventilation, and now we have hair grouping in some places, and other places we have bigger spaces. So 1 has only the top part belonging to it, 2 has the diagonal belonging to it, 3 has the up one belonging to it, and 4 has the upper one belonging to it. And every hexagon pretty much has 1 knot belonging to this specific hexagon. So although it appears that some hair might be a little bit more grouped, we haven't actually changed the density. Up close, we did change the visual effect and the visual aspect of the density, because some places are a little bit more dense and other places, I mean, look above 2. We have such a huge space. 1 is swamped by 3 hair strands. Next to 1, we have another big empty spot. So we have bigger empty spots and more grouped hair, but overall and from a distance, the density is not going to change. And this is the only thing we can do when we're ventilated single strand, single knot in every knot, because there's no other option for us to do that. And I'm going to show you an image inside the hexagons of how it looks. You see that with the arrows, the top part is going upwards, then a little bit of diagonal, then one whole row again of going upwards, one row of going diagonal, half a row going upwards, and everything else going diagonal. So this way, single strand, single knot in every knot, this is how I would change it. And a last thing, I wasn't going to include that into the video, but since I'm going to explain everything, if you want to change the direction and you ventilate multiple strands per knot, I'm going to show you a better trick. We have the hexagon patterns here, and I'm going to ventilate the top part. As you can see, we have two strands ventilated into one knot, so we have four strands protruding, two tails and two returns. I'm going to ventilate the next row of hexagons, having one strand per knot, but I'm going to ventilate two strands per hexagon. One is going upwards and one is going diagonal. And I'm going to ventilate a couple more and one more line here, one more, and then everything else is going to have uh, the hair going diagonal. So you see that all these hexagons have it above. Then we have the blue with hair being shuffled, and then everything else goes diagonal. And I'm going to show you with the arrows how it goes. You can see that all the top part has two strands going upwards. Then there are a few hexagons that have two directions into the same hexagon, and then everything else has the diagonal direction in both strands. This is a little bit smoother because smoother. If you have more strands per knot, you already don't have too much definition in that part of the unit. So at least you have the option to have the place where everything is going to be shuffled a little bit more defined than the rest of the the double stranded hexagons. So the part where everything is going to be shuffled is going to have single strand, while the rest is going to have double strand, and this is going to create a little bit smoother transition. And also this part is going to have single strand, so it's going to have a little bit more definition than the rest of the part. So you put a little bit more definition, but you put a little bit more shuffling, so overall the visual aspect of that is going to be kind of the same. So this is a huge video about changing the direction of the hair in a unit. Um, there are tricks to know where to change the direction, how to change the direction, and I might make a new video. If I had a canvas block, I would do that, but I don't have a canvas block. It's not so difficult how to do that, but I can make a video. I can make later a video if I have a head canvas, so as to show you exactly what I would do if I wanted to change the direction. Because whenever I'm making a unit, I always plan before I start the ventilation, and then I know exactly what I have to do and where I have to do it. Thanks for watching. Ask me anything you want, and I'm gonna make a new video to reply to your questions.